There are places that stay with you. Not because they are beautiful, not because they are famous, but because they make you wonder. Some landscapes seem to hold on to their stories, even when those stories have been long forgotten. When National Museum of Finland asked me to film Levänluhta for one of their exhibitions, I thought I was documenting history. Instead, I found myself asking a different question. Why do some landscapes feel important? Today, Levänluhta is little more than a spring surrounded by fields. Quiet, unremarkable, easy to miss. Yet more than 1,000 years ago, this was a wetland, and somehow remains of around 100 people ended up here. No one knows exactly why. Human bones were found in the wetland. Animal remains were found as well. Perhaps offerings. Perhaps rituals. Perhaps something else entirely. The mystery remains. And standing there, I found myself asking a different question. Not what happened here, but why this place? Why did this landscape matter? One detail caught my attention. The water. Even today, iron-rich groundwater can turn part of the spring red. And I couldn't stop imagining what this place may have looked like. A larger wetland, mist rising from the marsh, water stained red, a landscape unlike any other. Would people have seen something sacred here? I don't know, but the question stayed with me. Months later, before sunrise, I launched my canoe on Luhdanjoki River. This wasn't a new place. Years ago, I spent countless hours here while creating a self-published photo book. Much of it was photographed from a canoe. The project took years, and somewhere along the way, the river became more than a subject. It became familiar, almost personal. The Luhdanjoki region is also ancient. Some of the first people to arrive in Finland after the Ice Age lived in a landscape like these. While working on the book, I often wondered what they saw, what they noticed, what they valued. What made a place worth returning to? Because people rarely stay somewhere by accident. Something draws them there. Water, food, shelter, beauty, meaning. Perhaps all of these. The more time I spend in places like this, the more I believe that understanding a landscape requires patience. You cannot understand it in a single visit, or a photograph, or even a year. You return again and again, through different seasons, different weather, different stages of your life, and slowly the landscape begins to reveal itself. Not all at once, but piece by piece. That may be why some places feel important, not because they are dramatic, not because they are famous, but because they reward attention. They reveal more the longer you stay, the longer you listen, the longer you look. Today many of these landscapes are changing. Forests are cut down. Wetlands disappear. Rock formations are quarried away. Places shaped over thousands of years can vanish surprisingly quickly, and I sometimes wonder if the greatest loss is not the landscape itself, but the relationship people once had with it. Because the relationship takes time to build, and time is something we seem to have less of every year. Levänluhta never answered its mystery for me. If anything, it deepened it. But perhaps that is what makes places like this so fascinating. Not every question needs an answer. Sometimes it is enough to keep returning, to keep observing, to keep wondering. The landscape is still telling its story. The question is whether we're willing to stay long enough to hear it. I thought I'd finish by sharing a little about how this film came together. The story actually began in summer of 2025, when the National Museum of Finland invited me to film cinematic footage of Levänluhta for one of their exhibitions. I spent an entire evening and night at the site, hoping for misty conditions that would match the atmosphere of the place. Because the weather window was so short, I focused entirely on capturing the landscape and didn't film myself at all. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about Levänluhta afterwards. Today, it's a very modest-looking place, but its history is extraordinary. For around 500 years, people brought their dead to this wetland. Who were they, and what made this place so important to them? I decided to build the rest of the film gradually, filming wetlands whenever the right opportunity appeared. For the scenes with animal bones, I asked friends and people in my network if anyone knew a skeletal remains in the wild or had a skull I could borrow. My friend kindly lent me a lynx skull, and I also filmed a skeleton of a deer or an elk that had probably been killed by a lynx. The canoe sequences were filmed on the Luhdanjoki River, a place that has been important to me for many years. Back in 2008 to 2012, I spent photographing that landscape for a photo book that I wrote and published myself. Unfortunately, it's only available in Finnish right now. I filmed myself using a drone and Canon C50 camera. The C50 was mounted on a DJI RS5 gimbal, which was attached to the canoe with a super clamp. And the camera's tracking feature helped me to keep me in the frame. There was one frustrating mistake though. After updating the camera's firmware, I forgot to switch the cooling fan back to auto mode. As a result, the original location sound was pretty unusable, because the fan noise was constantly audible. Every natural sound in this film is my own field recording, collected over many years in different locations. Even the common swift was recorded during the same summer in the middle of the city. I also composed the music myself using GarageBand on an iPad. I first recorded a simple sketch that I could edit my film around. Once the edit was finished, I watched the entire film and improvised the final performance in real time. To add a little more atmosphere, I used acoustic effect instruments, including thunder and rain instruments. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.